Hello everybody and welcome back to FX Street. My name is Akash and today we're going to be taking a look at Bitcoin and discuss if the price is actually going to drop to 10k, and look at the possibility of price dropping to 10k from a multiple standpoint, right? Earlier today, there was a news saying that in a survey, right, 60% of the respondents kind of mentioned that Bitcoin price could drop to 10k, and only 40% mentioned that it could go up to 30k, right? So it's a very skewed number, right? So let's take a look if Bitcoin is actually going down to 10,000. And before we do that, please make sure to head on over to our YouTube channel and hit the subscribe button. And if you want to stay updated to the hottest trends in the crypto market, please make sure to also click on the bell icon. Furthermore, if you enjoy our content as well, you can give us a follow on Twitter at FXS Crypto. And if you enjoy what I do, make sure to give me a follow as well at Mangeko with the 0 at the end. Now, I've started a new Telegram group on July 1 where I post the trades that I'm taking and give you a deeper insight into why basically the markets, a deeper insight into the markets and what my opinion on the markets are, right? So let's get into the survey, right? This survey conducted by Bloomberg's MLIV basically revealed had 950 participants, in which 60% of them, right, basically 60% of them suggested that it could go to 10k and 40% of them think that it's going to go to $30,000. Right, and yeah, so is it actually going to 10k? Let's take a look, right? Let's go over the original, the OG chart. Okay, this is the OG chart. Yeah, the only thing that's missing here is the 200 weekly moving average, but let's actually, you know what, that chart doesn't have the moving average. Let's get it with this one. For some reason, my charts don't seem to have the indicators. Weird, because it was here a moment ago. Okay, cool, we have it here, right? So let's take a look at this particular Bitcoin chart. And in my previous discussions at FX Street here, I mentioned about how 200 weekly moving average is a pretty significant level and what would happen if we retested this level. Although we kind of came very close to retesting it, we kind of did not. At least on this index we did not, but if you look at other exchanges, I think Bitcoin did retest the 200 week SMA. Now, rejection off of this is really it's a no-brainer for the price to drop here. But what's really important here is that the price broke above the market structure that was set up between June 18th and June 21, right? The price broke a market structure high here, indicating that this down candlestick was basically an order block, and now it's a daily demand zone. So I'm expecting the price to bounce off of this demand zone and turn around, but once we get this rally from here, I'm expecting the price to kind of break above the 200 weekly moving average. Now I know that there's quite a bit of indicators that indicate that this move is unlikely. So on a 4-hour time frame, you can see, as you can see here, there is this massive cluster of indicators which suggests that a move above 22.5k, perhaps 23k, is impossible. But on a 4-hour time frame, you can see that the MRI indicator has already flashed a buy signal here, and I'm expecting the price to move higher and attempt to kind of overcome this cluster of resistance. Right, that's basically my plan, right? Even if the price does not go beyond this cluster, I feel like there's at least a move to be made up to this point, and which is why I'm longing Bitcoin here. But back to the overall question here, which is if Bitcoin price is going to go to 10k first, 30k first. Now, I don't believe that 30k is possible. Like, there is a scenario where it could go to 30k, but will it go to 30k is the main question. And I don't think that's going to happen anytime soon. And even if that were to happen, there are a couple of scenarios that there's one scenario in which that could happen. Let me just explain that on a high time frame perspective. Cool. So the first and the most important level that Bitcoin price needs to overcome is obviously the range high that was formed here on June 21st at 21.7k. Now, for Bitcoin price to indicate that the bulls are back, or for the buyers to kind of make a statement, they have to first produce a daily candlestick close above 21.7k. And once that's done, it's the 200 weekly moving average that they need to overcome. And after that, we have this massive fair value gap here that extends all the way from a weekly time frame. If you look at it, I think it's more apparent here. Have I not marked it? Okay, cool. So in this particular chart, let me turn off everything. The once Bitcoin price started dropping on a weekly time frame, it did not stop for 1-2 weeks. So the gap that you see here basically is from this particular point up to this point basically is an FVG, which extends from roughly 29.2k to 21.9k. Now this is where the weekly FVG is, which I've marked here. The upper limit of the weekly FVG is present here, right? So there is this one scenario where Bitcoin price could go all the way up to 29k. We could probably wake up to 30k, but that's another story. But on a daily time frame, you can see that this move that we got here from basically 31st of May down to this particular swing low at 17.6k was basically one big leg. Now if you draw the fib extending from the high of this candlestick formed on 31st of May to the low of candlestick formed on 18 June, you will notice that the deep discount mode basically extends from 26.7k to 29.2k, which coincidentally has the weekly FEG around it. Now usually when I draw fibs, I'm expecting a reversal around the 70.5 or the 62.5. Very often does the price go up to 79.5, then reverse, and then actually hit its target, right? So I am kind of doubtful of this scenario, so which is why I don't feel like 29k or perhaps even 30k seems like a good idea. So in a way, the survey that was conducted is a little biased, because 30k doesn't seem like a pretty good target. And if probably instead of 30k, the price, when it makes sense from a psychological perspective to use whole numbers like 10k and 30k, but if this target was 25k, I think the results could have been kind of equal, if not skewed towards 25k. Now why 25k is important is because the mean of this particular move here basically, which was a 45% downswing, is around 25k. And as you know, I'm a big proponent of mean reversions, right? This particular recovery line that we saw here basically came down, reversed to the mean, and then bounced up higher, right? So I am expecting that sort of play, and which is why I'm kind of longing a lot of altcoins and even Bitcoin down here at the retest of the daily demand zone. So 25k seems more likely as compared to 30k from the survey. But the 10k scenario is pretty, the survey, the respondents aren't wrong expecting the price to go down to 10k, right? So let me just articulate my thoughts. The first one is because we've had a massive bearish outlook in the market, so it is obvious or apparent for investors to be plagued by fear. And if you look at right, the fear greater index is obviously in the fear territory, and as you can see here, last week it was at 14, right? So obviously it makes sense for investors to kind of predict or like expect a move down to 10k. So yes, in that particular sense, it makes sense, right? Let's move on to more technical stuff. So the only way how we could expect the price to go down is if we get a breakdown of the daily demand zone here, which would also indicate a breakdown of this range, basically. This particular range is breakdown of the midpoint, and once that is done, it makes sense from a range bound perspective that the price is from the range, swept above the range, and now it's only natural for the price to go down and sweep the range low. Now during the sweep of the range low, if the price fails to move above 70, if the price fails to quickly recover above 17.591, then there is a good chance we could see a continuation of the rally. Now if that does come to pass, we have this particular chart here, right? So if we get a breakdown of perhaps like on a weekly time frame, if we get a breakdown of 19.3k, or on a daily time frame, if the price does not go above the range low, which is 17.6k, then there's a good chance price goes down to 15,000. These are the next levels that I've marked here based on the volume profiles that I see here. There after this particular bump here at 19.1965. The next one is at 15.5, and then the next one is 13.5. And finally, we have the lower limit of the void basically at 12K. So yes, there is a chance price could go down to 10K, and the only reason on the only scenario where I see that happening is if Bitcoin price produces a weekly close below $19,000. And before we get that, an earlier confirmation would be for the price to close on a daily time frame below 17.6K basically. So yeah, to summarize this video or this analysis session, I would say it makes sense for the investors to kind of expect a price crash to 10K. But if Bitcoin price recovers above 200 weekly moving average, then there is a good chance this kind of scenario, bearish scenario, kind of goes out. And then if the price goes above 200 weekly moving average, then it's a whole other ball game, right? Then you can expect a dead cat bounce for the price to go up to 25K. Now the dead cat bounce could happen at 25K. It reverses, catches people investing, hoping the price goes up to 30K. It could catch these investors or late investors who long Bitcoin here off guard, and now that could be a pretty good short squeeze. Or the price could go all the way up to 30K and then consolidate here to build up a lot of long positions, and then the price goes down. So to conclude, yes, the scenario for 10K is possible. And like I mentioned, the two signals that you have to look for if that is going to happen is a daily close below 17.6K, and then a secondary confirmation would arrive if the weekly candlestick close produces, if the weekly candlestick basically closes below 19K. So yeah, that concludes this video. If you enjoyed this analysis, please make sure to like, comment, and subscribe.